Have you ever seen this strange onion grass that's growing in your yard and wondered, can you eat it? You know, you mow it or cut it and you could smell the aroma from miles away. Well, it is indeed a wild onion plant, and yes, you can eat it. In fact, this is probably one of the best wild foods for beginner foragers, and I'll explain why. But there are a few things that you should know about. For one, there are some toxic lookalikes that you need to be aware of. But don't worry, it's actually really easy to distinguish them. Plus, if used in the wrong way, it's mid, it's not that great. So I'll show you a few ways that I think make them really shine, plus an alternative that is far better that everyone should know about. But first, we need to know what is the actual name of this plant. Okay, so the scientific name of this plant is Allium vineale. The most common name that I've heard for it would be field garlic. And it is one of the most prolific wild edible plants in the world. All across North America and Europe, you can find this plant, and it's probably growing very close to you because you can find it in yards, in forests, in fields, all over the place. And a lot of what it's doing, it has a strategy of coming up in the late winter and very early springtime. So it's taking advantage of a time period that a lot of other plants aren't even really fully out yet. And that's one of the ways that it can spread so far. In fact, it's invasive. It's a very aggressive grower, and it's outcompeting another important plant that I'll tell you about in a second. So in terms of foraging this responsibly, the most responsible thing would be to take as much as you possibly can. You have no concerns with taking too much of this stuff. General identification is very easy. So these larger leaves, if you cut them in half, they're going to be hollow on the inside, they're going to be coming up in clumps, and they're going to have a distinct, pungent onion aroma. All of those things are indicative of Allium vineale. Now, there are two things that you might try to do with them as soon as you find them. One, you might try to eat it raw. And if you do that, it's honestly, in my opinion, it's not that great. Number one, the texture is going to be kind of tough. So if you're expecting something like green onion or chives, this is not that. Another thing that you might try to do is you might try to harvest the bulbs, but at this time in early spring, the bulbs are going to be very tiny. You want to wait until later on in the year when the leaves start to turn brown in the summertime to harvest the bulbs. And I'll show you more about that during that time of the season. So then you might wonder, okay, well, what can we do with the leaves? Well, I've done a series of experiments and I want to share with you what I found. So like I was saying, eating them raw, it's just not going to be a good culinary experience. And a lot of that is because the texture is just so rough on them and tough. So one thing that I really like to do is I like to cut them up extremely thin. I'm going to use a chef's knife and I'm going to cut them into very, very thin pieces. And then I'm going to apply heat. There's a bit of a taste that comes with them that I'm not very partial to, and I feel like heating diminishes that somewhat. So what I'll do is I'll do something like I'll put butter in a pan, I'll heat it up, put my very thinly sliced Allium vineale into the pan with it, and I'll probably cook it, kind of bloom it for about 30 seconds to a minute or so. And then you kind of have a nice little oniony, buttery base to go with. One thing that you could do is you could throw eggs in there. That's a really great thing to have with it. And when I have that, I enjoy it quite a bit. It's a great way to use it. Another thing that I've tried is to cut them up, again, very thin and put them directly in eggs to make something like scrambled eggs with it. In this case, I do find that some of that flavor that I personally don't love comes through with it, so I generally don't do that one. But I'll tell you what, my favorite way to use them is to actually throw them into a stock or a soup of some kind. And this can be literally as simple as gathering them all into a bunch and then tying them up and throwing them into a stock. And what I would do is I literally tie them up with the leaves of the plants themselves. It's that simple. So I'll toss them in there for, however long that I'm cooking the soup, and then I'll remove all of it because, again, the texture is not going to be good. This, I really like the flavor. Again, it's kind of oniony, but it's kind of grassy too. It's not like straight onion that you get with something like white onion or garlic, the actual bulb. The leaves is going to be a bit of a green or a grassy flavor that comes. Ran out of battery right there. Anyway, like I was saying, I like that one quite a lot. It's one of my favorites. And the last one is just something that I've seen a lot of people post about, but I tried it and it was like nothing. So what this is about is gathering the leaves and then drying them and then grinding them up and making a powder with it. It sounds like it'd be really cool, but there was basically no flavor at all. Like, I tried it just with rice and I put it in and I heated it up. No other flavor, so it should have come through, and I barely got any of the garlic flavor whatsoever. So I wouldn't bother with that one too much. Maybe in a stock it could bring it out, but who knows? It's gonna be far better to use leaves fresh anyway. But I encourage you to experiment and see what ways that you like it. And if you find a new one, then let everyone know what it is in the comment section. But you might be wondering, okay, well, if this one isn't that great, is there a wild onion out there that is really good? And the answer is yes. There are several. The one that everyone knows about is ramps, and harvesting them is controversial. Maybe we'll do another video about that in the future. But there's another one that far fewer people know about, which is Allium canadense, or American wild onion. This one is native. It's not as prolific, and it's being outcompeted by the one that we're learning about in this video, field garlic. So what I would encourage you to do is to try and find it and propagate it. The flowers of American garlic are very distinct from field garlic. And when they are blooming, in my area, that's in the late April and early May timeframe. And by the way, this is going to be one of the flowers that's in my foraging and scouting calendar, and there's more info on that in the description. So what you can do is you can find them when they're flowering, and you can take what's called the bulbils on the top, and you can propagate them. And I really encourage you to do so. So rip up all of the invasive field garlic and replace it with American wild onion. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about lookalikes. The first one that I really want you to know about is because it will grow in the same area and it has a very similar growth habit, that kind of clump of stems to field garlic. And it's called Star of Bethlehem. Now, there's going to be one very easy way to distinguish them, but I'll show you a couple others. So first, the leaves on Star of Bethlehem, they're not going to be hollow. In addition, on the crease of the leaves, you'll see the silver line that's there that will not be present on field garlic. If you happen to dig them up and you're looking at the bulbs of Star of Bethlehem, they will kind of wrap around the base of the leaves, compared to field garlic where the bulbs just kind of merge straight into the leaves. Speaking of the bulbs, Star of Bethlehem has mucilaginous compounds in it. So if you cut them and rub them together, you'll see a kind of sticky, goopy substance. And that will not be present with field garlic. The last one, it's a dead giveaway. When you break or cut the field garlic, you already know this, it has a very strong oniony aroma, and the Star of Bethlehem is not going to have that at all. All right, there is one more lookalike, and this one has several toxicology reports of people mistaking it for wild onion and actually having to go to the hospital. But I have a full video that's dedicated to that one. So if you're interested, you can watch it right here. I hope to see you there.